Story tonight. Yorkshire victims of the post office computer scandal say they feel those responsible must be held to account.
Just to get those people who knew to be brought to justice, but prosecuted themselves and let them face it, like we've had to face it.
We'll hear about the impact on their lives and ask a legal expert where the battle for justice goes next. Also tonight, hospital appointment delays, an NHS patient hits out at striking medics. The former footballer is launching a new fundraising challenge to tackle motor neurone disease. And the Doncaster teenager who shared her parents is recognised after a decade of welcoming foster siblings.
A cold feeling week across Yorkshire, but the main thing is for the first time in a long time, it looks as though it's going to be dry. Join me for that week ahead forecast.
Hello, thank you for watching. As you may have seen in the National Bulletin first tonight, a TV drama has thrust the post office scandal into the national spotlight. Tonight, 3 of the victims from our region have told Look North they hope it will mean justice and full compensation for those affected. More than 700 post office branch managers were given criminal convictions after faulty software made it appear as though money was missing from their shops. The renewed scrutiny of the scandal today led the Prime Minister to promise to do everything possible to make it right. Mark Hansell takes up the story.
3 former post office managers from Yorkshire, all wrongly thought to have stolen money from the post office.
I've got to show them it's not just me. Lisa, the post office are suing us for £26,000, which we didn't steal and we haven't got hanging around in piggy banks.
Lee Castleton ran a post office in Bridlington. The ITV drama shows how he was pursued through the courts and left bankrupt.
It was so difficult to take. As you know, we lived in Bridlington, a very small seaside town. People knew me, knew my wife. We were abused in the street. The children were bullied. The impacts were so far-ranging and so deep that it was just horrendous, just absolutely terrible.
Former post mistress Alison Hall from Liversedge was innocent but agreed to plead guilty to false accounting to avoid going to jail. Alison had her conviction overturned but is still waiting for full compensation and justice.
It's good that Scotland Yard have got on board and that they're going to investigate. It's what it's needed. It's needed. But this has just brought it. And it's just absolutely amazing. It's all over the papers, the news, social media, and it's fantastic.
Former South Post mistress Wendy Martin ran a post office in York. She ended up having what she describes as a complete breakdown after the faulty accounting software wrongly made it seem like she was stealing.
I felt like I was dropping dead. I was probably sleeping less than an hour a night for 2 years. I used to say to the doctor, I can't explain to you how bad I feel, just under so much stress, but also I started having panic attacks and I was having 30, 40 panic attacks a day.
The Prime Minister says they'll do everything they can to make this right for all those affected.
These things obviously started a very long time ago, and it's right that they're looked at properly. And the stories are appalling. People were treated absolutely appallingly. That's wrong, and we should do everything we can to make it right.
Suspended. Locked out my own post office till I pay it all back.
26,000? What are we going to do?
The TV drama has raised the profile of the scandal. The Post Office says we share the aims of the public inquiry to get to the truth of what went wrong. 3 lives torn apart by the Post Office in what's thought to be the most widespread miscarriage of justice in UK history. Mark Ansell, BBC Look North.
Thanks, Mark. Well, Yorkshire-based solicitor Neil Hudgell is representing dozens of former post office managers. He told me the television drama had prompted more people to get in touch.
The drama heightened awareness and interest to a whole new level, and it's given people a raft of encouragement to come forward and to tell their stories. So The latest count we had was in excess of 100. And of course, that's 100 to this firm. There are other solicitors and legal firms involved in the process, so there's no reason to doubt that they haven't seen a similar upturn. So I'd guess probably several hundred people.
I dare say more will come forward because there's so much publicity around this now. There are calls for those caught up in this scandal to be exonerated en masse. Do you back that? Do you support that call?
It's difficult. Each case is determined on its own merits. I think what I do support is the idea that review of the existing convictions is taken out of the hands of the Post Office and passed to someone independent, so that process can be followed and expedited, because we have upwards of 600 people out there that still have convictions.
Would you support more of a wide-ranging inquiry into those who are or should be held responsible?
Certainly, at the end of all this, there needs to be proper accountability for those that made those hideous decisions that have cost so many people a good part of their adult life.
Very briefly, Neil, you've been covering this, you've worked on this for many, many years. We've covered it over many years. It seems strange, doesn't it? It takes an ITV docudrama to get it back into the spotlight again.
Yeah, it's a whole new level. You know, it's the front and centre of the psyche of the British public now, and I think that if I replayed my own observations and experiences of it, the first time you come to this, there's an element of disbelief. Can it really be that bad? And I think that what the drama has done in such a wonderful, compelling way is tell in 4 hours the story of 20 years. And so the penny has dropped. It really was that bad. And the fact that it's taken that drama to make that connection is one thing, but ultimately we are where we are. And we now need to use that as a springboard and a platform to ensure closure in 24. And that means fair, proper compensation and accountability.
OK, good to talk to you today, Neil Hudgell. Many thanks. Next tonight, 2 serving police officers and 2 former officers, all from Yorkshire, have appeared in court accused of sexual assault. They appeared in separate hearings at Bradford Magistrates Court. Very few details have to emerge about the circumstances of the charges, but the 2 serving officers are accused of separate sexual offences against the same alleged victim. Our social affairs correspondent, Emma Glasby, was in court.
All 4 appeared at the Magistrates' Court here this morning in separate hearings, and all 4 indicated pleas of not guilty. 59-year-old PC Gary Kavanagh faces 3 charges of sexual assault. It's alleged the offences took place at the Flight Club bar in Leeds when he was off duty. He is a police constable based in Leeds, but he has been suspended from duty by West Yorkshire Police. 53-year-old Simon Clark faces 2 charges of sexual assault against the same victim. He is also suspended from duty as a police constable in Leeds. 49-year-old Claudine Binns faces a serious sexual assault charge alleged to have taken place when she was off duty. Now, she was working as a detective inspector in Bradford at the time of her arrest, but she has since retired from the West Yorkshire Police Force. A 44-year-old Lee Meadows was a police constable in North Yorkshire, but he has now left the force. He is charged with sexual assault alleged to have taken place when he was on duty. Now, these were 4 short hearings at the Magistrates' Court here this morning with very few details released, but all 4 are due to appear at Bradford Crown Court in February.
Emma Glasby reporting there from Bradford Magistrates Court. Elsewhere today, a woman from Filey has criticised striking doctors after she was told she'd have to wait 5 months for an appointment at her local hospital. Despite being put on a cancer pathway by her GP, Diane Lamb was told the strikes and other pressures meant she would not be seen within the recommended 2-week target. She says the industrial action by junior doctors is now putting lives at risk and should not be allowed. Kathy Killick reports.
It's a worrying time for Diane Lamb. She has blood in her urine and has been put on a cancer pathway by her GP. But instead of an appointment within the target time of 2 weeks, she was told a combination of Christmas and the doctor's strike meant she'd have to wait 5 months for an appointment at Scarborough Hospital.
I was disgusted. I said, "Are you joking?" I said, "If it is cancer, I could be riddled by then, and you're going to make me wait 5 months." I thought we had to have early detection, you know, so that you can save someone's life. I said, "You're making me wait 5 months."
She was then offered a private appointment on the NHS in Middlesbrough, which she felt was too far away, and, consumed with worry, decided to pay herself to go to York.
What do you feel about having to pay?
I don't think it's fair, really, because we've worked all our life, we've paid our stamp duties and national insurance and stuff, and why should we have to pay to be seen? It's unfair.
What do we want? Pay restoration! When do we want it? Now!
Junior doctors have been on strike for 6 days in a row since Wednesday. Diane is critical of their stance. She feels it's backfiring on patients like her.
When do we want it? Now!
I don't think they should be allowed to strike. It's like the police or the fire service. They shouldn't be allowed to strike. Yes, negotiate your pay, that's fine, but you shouldn't be striking because you're putting people's lives at risk.
We're sorry if patients, are affected with appointments that are cancelled, but there's far more other issues causing the NHS crisis than strikes, and strikes are merely a symptom, not the cause.
The York and Scarborough Hospitals Trust says it has continued to prioritise cancer diagnosis and procedures throughout the strikes and suggests Diane goes back to her GP to ensure an urgent referral. But Diane's already arranged a private consultation that will cost £185 and an endoscopy for £1,600 this week. She's relieved that she can afford it, but feels terrible for those that can't. Cathy Killick, BBC Look North, Filey.
You're watching Monday's Look North. It's very nearly 6:45. Next tonight, South Yorkshire councils outside of Sheffield will have to chip in to operate the city's supertram after it's brought back into public control. The network, which also has 2 tram train stops in Rotherham, will transfer to public ownership from March, with the region's mayor being responsible for running it. A report reveals it's expected to run at a £6.3 million loss. The combined authority says the long-term goal is to decrease its dependence on the public purse. An inquest has heard how a Leeds man died from an allergic reaction to nuts 1 hour after eating a slice of takeaway pizza. 23-year-old James Atkinson became unwell after eating food ordered via Deliveroo from a restaurant in Newcastle. He told paramedics he was about to die before falling unconscious. Adam Powell reports from Newcastle.
James Atkinson was described by his family at the start of today's hearing as a loving, kind and caring young man whose sudden death had left an insurmountable hole in their hearts. His parents, Jill and Stuart Atkinson, travelled from their home in West Yorkshire for today's hearing. The hearing heard that James used the takeaway food app Deliveroo to order food including chips, onion bhajis and chicken tikka masala pizza. Less than 5 minutes after consuming less than a slice of that pizza, he had to call 999, realising he was suffering from a severe allergic reaction. The hearing was told that James had, up until that point, managed his peanut allergy very well. But on that fateful evening, he couldn't find his EpiPen inside his Newcastle flat, something that would have provided him with an emergency dose of adrenaline. Paramedics told the hearing that they got to James's flat within minutes of the call. He was pale and gasping for breath and asked if he was going to die. James was rushed to the RVI but died later that night. Examination of the uneaten takeaway food supplied by the city centre restaurant Dadiel detected the presence of peanuts. The Home Office pathologist Dr. Jennifer Bolton gave the cause of death as anaphylaxis following peanut ingestion. The hearing is expected to last up to a fortnight. Adam Powell, BBC Look North, Newcastle.
Now, after the incredible work of rugby league legends Rob Burrow and Kevin Sinfield to raise awareness of motor neurone disease, it's now the turn of 2 former Yorkshire footballers to take on a huge fundraising effort. Stephen Darby was captain of Bradford City and Marcus Stewart played more than 100 games for Huddersfield Town. Both have been diagnosed with MND. They've spoken to the BBC together about life with the condition and their 175-mile walking challenge. Carla Fowler takes up their story.
Marcus Stewart and Stephen Darby at Anfield. Both are living with motor neurone disease, the life-limiting degenerative disorder for which there's currently no treatment and no cure.
When he was diagnosed, did you feel alone?
No. So I called you. Well, no, I emailed you, didn't I? So the first thing I wanted to do was get in contact with someone with M&D, because you're a footballer as well.
Stephen Darby was diagnosed in 2018. He started at Liverpool but spent 5 years at the height of his career playing for Bradford City. He made over 200 appearances for the club and was captain for 2 years.
So how are you doing?
Mentally, fine. Strong.
Yeah.
Physically, things are harder, and I need a lot more help day to day.
Marcus Stewart was a prolific striker for Huddersfield Town in the late 1990s. Diagnosed in 2022, he's still coming to terms with the changes in his life.
I can't grip anything with this hand now. I can't. You know, when you go to pick your phone up, the car seat, I could do that a year and a half ago. Now I've got to reach over and pick it with my right hand.
There are shared memories of glory days playing in front of thousands, but both are becoming increasingly dependent on others for their needs. The aim now is to get football players past and present involved in a 175-mile walking challenge between 17 football stadiums to raise awareness.
M&D brings all types of people together. But what's special is we're all fighting for the same thing, and that's to find a treatment and a cure, and to support each other in that journey.
Stephen Darby and Marcus Stewart talking there. Well, let's turn to sport, and it's been a busy few days of FA Cup action, but before that, Yorkshire cricket has been in the news over the weekend, with criticism building over a possible takeover deal by the former chairman, Colin Graves. Sally's here with us now. Sally, why could this prove to be quite a controversial decision?
Well, Colin Graves was chairman of Yorkshire between 2012 and 2015, which is part of the period that Yorkshire was fined for failing to address a systemic use of racist or discriminatory language. And he was recently criticised by the ECB for suggesting incidents of racism at the county were banter. But now it looks like he could be about to return. Now, Yorkshire owes £14.9 million to the family trust owned by Graves, one of its major creditors. So doing a deal with his consortium could solve some of their financial problems. But it would be a controversial move at a time when the club is trying to prove it's changed since the scandal. The former Yorkshire player Azim Rafiq gave evidence to Parliament about the racism he suffered during his time at the club. He's now moved his family to Dubai, partly because of the backlash he received as a result of going public. Well, this afternoon he spoke to me and said he's deeply upset by the possible return of Colin Graves.
On a personal level, it just feels like what was the point, of everything that everyone's gone through. It just feels like back to square one. But I think it sends a bigger message to everyone of colour, South Asians specifically. A bloke who sat on TV with chest out only a couple of months ago and said racism is banter. I think it's a clear message from cricket, from the ECB, the cricket authorities, that cricket's not a safe place for us.
Well, we contacted Colin Graves. He said he has no comment to make at the moment, but Yorkshire have responded to another criticism they've faced from Azim Rafiq, that they haven't tried hard enough to find an alternative financial deal. They said, we have met with over 350 interested parties to work through each and every genuine offer to refinance the club. No stone has been left unturned, and a thorough and rigorous process has been conducted by the board to ensure the club stays operational. We refute any assertion to the contrary. So a controversial return for Colin Graves could be in the pipeline. Any deal, though, would have to be voted for by members at an extraordinary general meeting. Well, turning to football now and the FA Cup. And Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday and Leeds United are all through to tonight's draw for the 4th round. Sheffield Wednesday's goalkeeper Cameron Dawson saved 2 penalties in the first 7 minutes as they beat Cardiff in round 3. And just take a look at this goal from Patrick Bamford as Leeds beat Peterborough yesterday. It's already been talked about as a goal of the season contender, although Bamford himself was being rather more modest about it.
Yeah, it was nice. I was just saying there, it counts the same as a tap-in. So a goal's a goal, and I'd be just as happy if I did score one from 1 yard out.
But Rotherham, Huddersfield and Chesterfield were knocked out of the Cup over the weekend. Particularly disappointing for Chesterfield, this, who went ahead against Championship side Watford in the first half, much to the delight of 4,000 travelling fans, only to eventually lose 2-1 as Watford scored an injury time winner. And that draw for the FA Cup 4th round is at 7:50 this evening. You can see it live on the BBC Sport website.
Sally, thank you very much for that, Sport. Now, we need a bit of your help next tonight because we're looking for your assistance as we investigate the impact of screens as we use our phones for more and more everyday tasks. From paying bills or for help getting from A to B to keeping in touch with news and friends. So does our screen time or gaming take over family life sometimes? I suspect I already know the answer to that. We're looking for a few volunteers to take part in an experiment. It's your family looking for a better balance. If they are looking for that balance between real time and screen time, then please get in touch with us. We'll have experts on hand to offer you some brilliant advice. Just get in touch with us at look.north@bbc.co.uk. Now, a teenager from Doncaster who's happily shared her parents with more than 20 foster siblings has been given an award. A charity has praised Leah's welcoming attitude and willingness to help children who need temporary care. Heidi Tomlinson has been to meet her.
Mum, where are you?
Leah's mum, Kerry, is more often than not with another child. Her parents are foster carers.
I could be at school and then I'd come home and there could be a new child in my house, and my mum would tell me things about them, and then they'd just become part of the family like straight away. Ready?
The family from Doncaster look after babies and older children. Leah's always ready to help. Her patience and understanding have been recognised with an award from the Fostering Network, which was presented at a ceremony in Birmingham.
She's almost like a young adult when she's playing with the children. She's very aware and conscious of their feelings and the triggers.
She deals very well with the heartbreak of it all as well. There is a lot of heartbreak when we have to let them go, and they've been here for a year or 2 years.
Yeah.
It's like letting your little sister or brother go.
And then preparing to meet a new one. This week they're making a bed up for a teenager. Before that it was a seriously ill toddler. Kerry spent 2 months in hospital with the child. Leah could only see her once a week.
I feel proud of myself to say that I can share my parents and I can help children that need the help. I've been brought up to understand things that other children won't, and it's made me really mature in myself.
At 13 years old, Leah already knows she'd like to work in the care system, following in her parents' footsteps, making them proud every day. Heidi Tomlinson, BBC Look North, Doncaster.
Yeah, congratulations, Leah. That's really great work, isn't it? Now, more than 35,000 animals have been rehomed in our region in Yorkshire over the past decade. That's according to the RSPCA. The charity is marking its 200th anniversary this year. It says animals and their owners are facing bigger challenges than ever because of the cost of living. And I'd like to draw your attention to another particular animal and a certain owner. If you just take a look at this, this is Dave the dog with his owner. Dave's the one on the right, by the way, just in case you're not sure. And
look at that
Dave,
set of gnashers.
Dave, well, beautiful. Dave was rehome, wasn't he, Paul?
Yeah, a week before lockdown, actually, yes. And he's fantastic, is Dave.
I could tell that you're very alike.
I know. And we sat down to watch a football match there, and he just never stirred.
Do animals become like their owners, or is it the other way around?
Something like that. Anyway, we're all very excited because we've got the first snowflakes of the season. That's how mild it's been, but we've had to go up near Stocks Bridge to get that slight dusting on the wall top. What is more important is how saturated the land still is. Now, this is a drone that was sent up, and this is actually the River Derwent. You can't really tell where it is, but just look around. That's Drax Power Station over there. Just look how saturated the land still is. So this dry week is very welcome indeed. If you've got any pictures you want to send to me on Twitter, on Instagram and on the Weather Watcher website. So tomorrow looks predominantly dry. We can never rule out the odd very light shower, but it looks predominantly dry. Variable cloud. It looks like the cloud could be a little thinner than today, so more in the way of brightness coming through. Now just look how the blues sort of give way. We pull in less cold air. These sort of yellows and oranges slip down from the north. High pressure in charge, keeping these rain-bearing fronts out to the west. So it looks dry with actually average temperature for January by the middle of the week. Now you can see the extent of the cloud on the satellite picture. Also the breaks in the North Sea, and they're heading our way. So reasonable confidence that we should at least see some blue sky developing through tomorrow. Now tonight looks chilly. It's certainly a cold wind out there, that's for sure. Where you've got shelter from the breeze, there'll be a slight frost. Temperatures around freezing point. That is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Tomorrow's high water times then a chilly Filey at 2:10 and again at 22:03. So tomorrow does look dry with variable amounts of cloud, but you can see there's a few breaks coming through, a little bit of blue sky, a little bit of sunshine in places, but it is still going to feel quite chilly out there. The breeze is in the east, never a warm direction. Temperatures struggling up to 5 Celsius, that's 41 Fahrenheit. So a bit of a change midweek, a lot more cloud. It could be thick enough actually for a few drizzly light showers. Temperatures recovering to near normal levels, and then a change again into the weekend. Brighter but colder weather with some sunshine. Temperatures early next week back to 3 or 4 degrees. So that's the forecast, Phil.
I suppose it could be worse, couldn't it? So
could be a lot worse, definitely.
Thank you. Well, we've enjoyed it so much. Paul and myself are coming back at 10:30 with the Label. Listen, do join us in. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your Monday evening. Good night.